You're listening to Boomers Today with your host, Frank Sampson.
Well, welcome to Boomers Today. I'm your host, Frank Sampson. Of course, each week we bring you important and very useful information on issues facing baby boomers, their parents, and other loved ones. And I want to thank everybody for all their support. So many of you have listened to the show on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, Stitcher, iHeartRadio. Many of you come to our website at boomerstodayradio.com. And special thanks for sharing our show and various podcasts with family and friends. Our listeners are growing each and every day, and it's because of you. So I want to thank you so much for that. And I know why our listeners are growing each and every day. It's because we have wonderful guests, very educational. I'm not going to disappoint you today because we have with us Bond Devick, who is a partner, is a certified financial planner, and has been a financial advisor for more than 25 years, specializing in investment management, sustainable, responsible, and impact investing and retirement planning. RJ joined Penny Bond and Associates in 1993 and became partner of Bond and Devick in 2001. RJ received the Cetera Quality of Life Award for his commitment to the profession, his clients, and his volunteer activities. Currently, RJ is on the University of Minnesota Adoption Medicine Clinic Advisory Board, the People Serving People Board, and a member of the Minneapolis Foundation's Professional Advisory Committee. He's also mentoring businesses through his affiliation with the Minnesota Black Chamber of Commerce. So RJ, I just want to thank you so much for joining us on Boomers today.
You bet, Frank. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, no, it's a great subject matter and an important subject matter. And so I thought I would just start out asking RJ just some very basic questions because, I know I deal with families all the time, as you know, our organization does that. And sometimes people don't even understand exactly what a financial planner is and maybe the differences between the services performed by different financial planners. And then there's a certified financial planners, and maybe that designation to talk a little bit about that as well. So maybe you give us an overview of that.
Sure. Well, there are a lot of different financial advisors out there. Financial advising really came out of the life insurance industry in the 70s and 80s. Over time, it's evolved. So back in the day, advisors would earn a commission, sell a product, and help people, obtain their goals by mostly selling products. Over the years, that's really changed. Our firm is a fee-only fiduciary. So there are people who make commissions, there are people who earn a fee, and there are people who do both. So you really have to be careful. You really have to understand how your advisor's compensated, right? So the first question I would have if you're looking to hire an advisor is how do they get compensated? Second question is, are they a fiduciary? Most financial planners are not fiduciaries. They have a different standard of care. So a fiduciary by law always has to put their clients' needs ahead of their own. The standard of care is lower. They have to do what's appropriate, but not in a fiduciary manner. For instance, there are a lot of people who, even to this day, might sell a certain product to somebody because if they sell enough of it, they can go on a trip with their spouse to Hawaii for free. A fiduciary doesn't ever have that kind of issue, because with the fiduciary, they can't sell something to you to earn a trip because that would be a major conflict of interest. So when you're dealing with a financial planner, if you get a referral from a friend or family member, go on their website, look at how they're compensated, ask them, do they earn commissions? Are they fee only? Are they fiduciary? I think those are some pretty basic questions so that you get an understanding of how the advisor operates.
So can someone just become a financial planner and maybe take a course and done, you're a financial planner, or is there certain prerequisites?
Well, anybody can become a financial planner. There are some tests you can take if you're going to make commissions. There's like the Series 763 and so forth. And then you can just hang out your shingle and start giving advice. You want to make sure when you're working with a financial advisor that they have the CFP designation, the Certified Financial Planning designation. When you're working with the CFP, you know that they have at least a basic understanding of financial planning. Because when you're a CFP, you have to pass, I think it's 6 courses now, and then you have to sit for an all-day test. And when you pass that test, that shows that you have a minimum understanding of estate planning, investment planning, taxes, and so forth. Without that CFP designation, you don't really know what the advisor's skill set is. So at least with the CFP, they have a very minimum, at least they have a base set of knowledge.
Yeah. So RJ, you mentioned it kind of, financial planning kind of came out of the insurance industry. So would all financial planners, or so let's just say certified financial planners, be selling insurance? If so, what kind? And could they choose not to sell insurance? Is there a mix?
Sure. Well, so like Bond and Devick, we're comprehensive financial advisors. So we look at everything that touches the client financially. And so that includes risk management, where you would have disability insurance and life insurance, for instance. Mm-hmm. Now, at Bond and Devick, we don't make commissions. We have professionals that we refer clients to get disability insurance and life insurance and that kind of thing. So as a certified financial advisor, you have to, part of your role and responsibility is to identify needs for the client. And if they need disability insurance or life insurance, you send them to the appropriate place to get it. So we don't do that for the clients because we don't receive commissions. We also don't receive, kickbacks or anything from people that we refer clients to. But it's just one way that we make sure that their needs are covered.
There are financial planners out there that do sell insurance and do make a commission. So there's
and that's
yeah,
and that's why I said originally, when you meet with a financial advisor, ask them, do they earn commissions, do they earn fees, or is it a combination of both? So some of them certainly do that, and there's nothing intrinsically wrong with that. You just need to know if someone does both fees and commissions, there does set up more conflicts of interest. And so you just want to know what those conflicts are when you enter a relationship.
Great. So tell me about some of the other areas, retirement planning, investments, et cetera, that we'll talk about what you handle.
Sure.
Yeah, go right ahead and share that information.
So, all of our clients have a financial plan, and that plan is really driven by a retirement projection. Mm-hmm. We have Brittany Metzig in our office, who has been a planner for over 20 years. She's been with us for about 15 years, and she runs all the retirement projections for our clients. And why that's so important is that retirement projection gives people a plan, a guide for the future, and we build everything around that. So if Brittany runs a retirement projection for a client, and for everything to kind of work out, they need to get a 6 to 7% return from their portfolio, then that moves over to the investment planning part of things. And so we don't just put people like in the S&P 500 index fund and hope it works out, right? We design portfolios based on the investment return objectives that the client and Brittany agree on. And then tax planning works around that too. We make sure, Nick in our office makes sure that we're using all the tax strategies available to our clients to reduce their taxes, and make sure that, for instance, with the itemized deduction has increased so much over the last couple of years. A lot of people make donations to charity and they don't get a tax benefit from that. There are a lot of tax strategies that you can implement where you do get a tax benefit. So we work with clients on that because we we really like to help maximize charitable giving from our clients. One of the things that gets me out of bed every day is to help give our clients money away.
So,
and then there's estate planning, right? So if you may want to make sure that all the documents are in place.
Gotcha. So there, maybe it's me. So I'm going to just say this is my opinion, not general opinion. But my opinion is there's a perception out there that the services of a certified financial planner would only be for those that are well-to-do, the wealthy, etc. Help me understand, and I think a lot of our listeners might feel that way too, that maybe that's not the case.
No, that's certainly not the case. I mean, there are different firms that work with different individuals, right? So at Bond Devick, we have 13 people on our team, and there's a certain kind of client that we work with based on the kind of professionals that we have, right? So we work mostly with clients who have a significant amount of assets, who have complicated things going on, right? They have stock options, rental property, they own businesses, that kind of thing. But for someone just starting out, if you're single, just getting married, it's great to work with a financial planner to make sure that what you're doing when you're young is going to help you get to where you want to get into the future. So if you go work with a fee-only financial planner, a lot of those people charge an hourly rate, so you don't have to have millions of dollars to work with them. They'll charge you a couple $100 an hour. They'll help you make sure you have the right amount of insurance, the right type of insurance. They'll look at your 401k to make sure you're using the best investment options available, that kind of thing. So there are a lot of different financial advisors who work with a lot of different types of clients, and you just have to make sure that you have the right fit, no matter where you are in life.
Gotcha. So you're happen to be based in Minnesota. Can a financial planner, are there any regulations that says you only can do work with people in Minnesota, or you can do work with people anywhere?
Yeah, we have clients in 26 states.
Gotcha.
So we work with clients everywhere. It's become a lot more practical now with Zoom. The advisors, we visit quite a few of our clients who are out of state, but more and more now it's just Zoom meetings. And we work with clients out of state with their estate planning attorneys and their CPAs, because we don't always know exactly, like we're very familiar with Minnesota estate law and tax law. We've got clients in Georgia and Florida and Oregon and everywhere, right? So we have to make sure we work with those professionals there to make sure that we're taking advantage of the laws in those states.
Yeah. So I know that your clients have, a comprehensive financial plan. Explain kind of, if you can, just explain kind of the makeup of what would be included in a comprehensive financial plan for your clients.
Sure. So if we get referred to a client who's a prospect, we will review everything they have. So we'll go through all their assets. We'll build a net worth statement. We'll look at their debt. We'll take a look at their bank statements, their tax returns, their investment statements. We look at their property casualty coverage, disability coverage, life insurance, pretty much anything that you can think of that has an impact on your finances. And we also look, so that helps Brittany build the retirement projection. And then Nick will look at the tax return, look at pay stubs, look at their income to see if there are any tax strategies that we can utilize. For instance, a lot of clients will come to us and they're writing checks to their church for $5,000 a year, but they're not getting a deduction. If they're over age 70 and a half, they can take $5,000 out of their IRA tax-free and give it to church, and then you get a benefit because you take money out of a retirement plan tax-free. So there's a lot of different strategies that people aren't always aware of that we can help, give them a little more tax advantage on the tax planning. And then we look at investments. Sometimes people are too aggressive or they're too conservative. It kind of depends on what the market's been doing. Like when people come in to visit us in 2009, they were very conservative, right? Because we had the great financial crisis. During COVID, people panicked and they got too conservative. So what we do is we try to talk to them about how much risk they need to take in their portfolio to reach their objectives. And that goes directly back to that retirement projection that I talked about. And then we look at their existing estate plan, if they have one. If they don't have one, we nag them until they get one, because it's super important, no matter how old you are, that you have a estate plan. And then we go over those
when you say an estate plan, are you saying a trust? Is that what you're referring to, or not necessarily?
Well, not everybody needs a trust, but do have wills set up.
Gotcha.
You have power of attorney, healthcare directives, that kind of thing.
Good.
Now, some people need a trust and some don't, and so we just look over the documents and give them an understanding of where they're at and find out what their estate planning goals are, and make sure that their documents and their estate plan are in alignment with their goals. Sometimes they are, sometimes they are. Sometimes they have documents that are 10, 15 years old and their life has changed considerably and they need to make changes. And so we will definitely happy to meet with the estate planning attorney and our clients. I think that provides a lot of value because we can provide the financial side of things to the attorney, and then we can also help interpret legalese to our clients, because sometimes the attorneys have a difficult time bringing it down to what people can understand. So after a meeting, we'll help our client understand what the attorney what their strategy is as well.
So RJ, we're going to take a real quick break, I promise, just about 30 seconds.
Okay, sure.
Just to recognize our sponsor. When we come back, I want to talk a little bit more about retirement and how you've seen the term retirement evolve over your decades in the business. All right. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So do you know anybody who may be concerned about an older driver? Well, Senior Care Authority's Beyond Driving with Dignity program is a facilitated self-assessment program for older drivers. This program has been designed to serve as a vital tool to facilitate older drivers and their families as they make the appropriate decisions regarding the future of one's safe driving career. If the individual is a safe driver, an advisor will provide him or her with strategies on how to remain a safe driver as they progress through the aging process. If driving retirement is the appropriate decision, then the individual and their family are offered possible alternatives, resources, and a specific plan to ensure a smooth and successful transition from the driver's seat to the passenger seat. So to learn more, you can go to www.beyonddrivingwithdignity.com or call 877-907-8841. That's 877-907-8841 to connect with a Senior Care Authority advisor in your area. So we're back with RJ Devick, who's a partner with Bond Associates, Bond and Devick, right? Did I get that right? I guess.
Yeah, Penny Bond Associates in 1982 is what it was. Yeah.
Okay. All right, great. And then he's also, of course, a certified financial planner and helping educate us on that role. So, I'd like to talk to you a little bit about this term retirement. When I think about my father and my grandfather and all that. I was like, seemed like 65 was always that magic number and the gold watch, and you call it a day, you're done, right? How have you seen this so-called retirement evolve over the years?
There has been a sea change in the 30 years that I've been doing this. I would agree with you. 30 years ago, people would come into our office, usually in their late 50s, early 60s, and they would like to retire at 62 or 65. And then they would retire, and I would say that they weren't all that active on average. Over the years, our clients have been retiring earlier, and they've just been much more active. They travel more. They are engaged in the community in a much deeper level than I would say that our average client did 30 years ago. I'll talk to a client and they're in Europe or Africa, and I can't even keep track of them. Sometimes they're gypsies, but
right.
but they're getting so much. To me, retirement 30 years ago was you worked hard, you hit 65, you retire, and then it was all about taking it easy and resting. Now I just don't feel it's that way. People are so engaged after retirement, doing things that they care about, whether that's working at a food shelf or a nonprofit or traveling, or I've got so many clients who provide care to their grandkids for maybe a couple days a week because they really want to have that relationship with those grandkids. So I just think, I would say over the last 30 years, what I've noticed is that people are retiring earlier and they're much more active and engaged in retirement.
Yeah, it's, I think it's changing. That's for sure. I mean, do you see a lot of people who, clients who are working, they could retire, but they don't because they just don't know what to do with themselves? They're so used to working and they actually may enjoy working.
Sure, that's a big transition, right? Especially if you enjoy working, you've been doing it for so long, and then to just quit and have nothing to do. So what we try really hard to do is help our clients with that transition, plan for it many years before it starts. Yeah. I would say women tend to do a better job of transitioning from retirement to men on average. I just think women in general have more relationships. They are more engaged maybe in the community and that kind of thing. And I think men, and this especially true 30, 20, 10 years ago, maybe less true now, but I still think men are so, they get so much out of their jobs, and their jobs, they look at that as who they are, and they have more of a difficult time transitioning into retirement. And so those are the people we try to work hard with, to say, okay, when you retire, what are you going to do? You can't golf every day, right? You got to figure out what you want to do, and you've got to figure that out before you retire.
Exactly. So I talk to people all the time about that, and I said, you got to put a plan together to retire. And forget about
it's not financial.
I was just going to say, not just financial, a plan of what you're going to do. Because I know too many people who've retired and they just kind of go downhill. They don't have a plan together, So you hear about that all the time. So with the time we have left, let's talk a little bit about recommendations you have to families as far as communicating with one another, and decisions that have to be made, and wishes that certain wishes people have relative to, care, or, comes time they have passed on, and, all their wishes, and, who should they be getting involved? I mean, should they be getting an elder law attorney involved? Let's talk about that if we can.
Sure. I think family communication has gotten better over the years. I would say 20, 30 years ago, people did not share their finances with their kids at all. I think that was pretty common. Now people want to share their financial situation with their kids, but it's still a difficult conversation. So we provide client meetings, family meetings. So we'll have the parents and the children come into our office, and we will talk about their financial situation. Some people still don't want us to get into specifics, but we'll at least do a high level. Your parents are financially secure. You don't have to worry about them running out of money, that kind of thing. But then we'll go over the roles and the responsibilities of the individuals who might have to step in the future to take care of the folks. Who is the healthcare agent? We have conversations about, end of life issues. At what point would life not be worth living to our clients? Because those conversations are really important, and not so much for our clients, but it's for the kids, right? Because when you're a healthcare agent, that responsibility is pretty tough. And the more direction you can give those people, the better it is for everyone. So we you don't sit around at Thanksgiving or Christmas or whatever holiday and talk about end of life issues. But we have these family meetings, and boy, I'll tell you, they've really, they're not awkward, they're not difficult, they're really wonderful conversations. And I think our team is really good at facilitating those conversations. And who's your power of attorney? When might they need to step in? Do mom and dad need somebody to be on their checking account as a signer so they can deposit and write checks? Do they have online access? That kind of thing. So those are the kind of conversations we have with the whole family, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page, and just to make, some people don't even know they're their parents' power of attorney, and they don't even know really what that means. So we have that conversation to try to make it just provide some clarity to the family around the situation.
Can we talk about what that means? I mean, I'm very familiar with power of attorney, but I think a lot of people, first of all, I think it's a lousy name. All right. Because, it just seems like, oh, I got to go spend a lot of money for this attorney to get a power of attorney. And that's not necessarily the case, but
yeah.
Could you maybe expound upon it a little bit and the importance of it?
Well, sure. It's important to have a power of attorney because if you are incapacitated and you can't make financial decisions or sign financial documents, then that power of attorney steps in and does that for you. So if you need to sell a house, but you've had a stroke or in a car accident, you can't do that, then your power of attorney steps in and does those things for you. So it's really important to have that. It's really important to have a power of attorney, whether you're 25 or 95. So that's what I said. Even if you're young, you still need those important documents. And when we have clients, kids or grandkids go off to college, we make sure that they have a healthcare directive as well, because once you're 18, parents really don't have a say. So they need those important documents signed as well. So when we sit down with our families, we're like, okay, Jen, you're the power of attorney. What that means is if your parents become incapacitated, you're the one in charge of finances. And Joe, you're the healthcare agent. So if something should happen where your parents can't make decisions on their healthcare, you're the one in charge of that. So we get really granular. We talk about specifically what it means. We talk to our clients about, do you feel that you need help paying your bills, that you need help getting your tax documents in order? And if they're fine, then we say, okay, well, for now you're fine, but in the future, feel free to reach out to your kids, right? So kids don't, sometimes I think kids see their parents struggling, but they don't, it's hard for them to offer help because the parents will say, I'm fine, right? And they look at it like they're losing some of their responsibilities. They don't want to pass it on to the kids, or they want to burden their kids. When you have that family meeting, we're all there. Everyone wants the same outcome, and it really facilitates conversations, and people understand after that meeting what the roles are, what the responsibilities are, and what that timeline is. I think it's a very powerful thing.
Yeah. One quick point I want to make, I think people need to understand, is that a spouse doesn't by default become power of attorney. You still have to do all the paperwork for power of attorney. A lot of couples think, well, my wife will make the decision, my husband will make those decisions, but that's not the case. Am I correct on that?
You're correct. Also with healthcare agents.
Yeah, same thing.
Spouse
right.
doesn't. You definitely want to make sure that you have those documents in place, whether you're married or not. Because if they're not in place, in each state's a little different, but you don't want the state's default to pick or to have some random judge pick who your power of attorney is. It might not be the person you want.
Right.
To get those documents done.
Yeah. So RJ, why don't you share with everybody just your contact information, website, anything else you'd like to share?
Sure. Our website is bondanddevick.com, BONDANDDEV as in Victor, ICK.com. And our phone number is 952-591-0113. And if anyone would like more information about our services or what we provide to clients, our comprehensive financial planning. We have all that information right there on our website, and there's a place to inquire for more, to set up an appointment. We're always happy to meet new people, and whether they're in Kentucky or Florida or Minnesota, we got into this business to help people, and we're happy to answer any questions people might have.
Great. RJ Devick, check it out. Check them out, bondanddevick.com. RJ, thanks so much for joining us on Boomers Today. Really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Frank.
Yeah, thank you. Everybody be safe, and we'll talk to everybody next week.
You've been listening to Boomers Today with Frank Sampson. To learn more about today's show, visit boomerstodayradio.com and join us next time for another edition of Boomers Today.